Up and find out what Labor's point of view is on the economic issues around today. I'm joined from the Sydney CBD by Labor's Matt Thistlethwaite. Thanks for joining us, Matt. You might have heard earlier in my interview with the Treasurer, Josh Frydenberg, that a state treasurer, a state Liberal treasurer in Rob Lucas in South Australia, has joined the call for the government to think about bringing forward those income tax cuts. He suggests they ought to put that into the mix for next year's federal budget.
This is a significant intervention by Rob Lucas, Chris, and I think it would go to the fact that his state and all of the states are facing a reduction in their GST revenue based on the MyEFO figures that were released yesterday, because growth's down under this government, because revenue's going to be down, therefore GST distributions to the states that they principally use to fund their education and healthcare system are going to be down. That's on the back of low consumption figures. So he, like many Australians, wants to see the government develop a plan to boost the economy, and that's sadly lacking under this Treasurer and this Prime Minister.
I think you are absolutely right. That's the worry for the states. They see with the lack of economic growth their GST revenue going down. I'm speaking to former New South Wales Treasurer, the Transport Minister Andrew Constance, later in this program. I'll find out what he's got to say about this. But obviously you'd be endorsing that view. You're in unison, Matt Thistlethwaite, with the Liberal Treasurer of South Australia.
Yeah, it's not often that we're on a unity ticket with Liberal treasurers, but in this case I think we are, because Labor's been calling for some months now for the government to consider bringing forward the stage 2 tax cuts. They're the tax cuts that change the rate for the 37% rate of tax. They boost the threshold from $90,000 to $120,000 and increase the low income tax offset. So there'd be a stimulus boost, we believe, by bringing forward those tax cuts. And we've also suggested that the government should look at bringing forward infrastructure investment, look at things like penalty rates, because there's an opportunity there for some much needed growth in the Australian economy. And if you look at the wages forecasts, if you look at the unemployment forecasts, they cast a dim picture for the future for this economy.
Pretty hypocritical, isn't it, for the Labor Party to be talking about bringing forward income tax cuts now, though, when you took such a high taxing agenda to the last election, including increases in income tax for high income earners? Is it about time then you actually abandon your whole, at least, income tax policy, say that's scrapped, you now support the government's income tax policy?
Well, we did support the elements of the last round of tax cuts. We legislated those through the Parliament. Unfortunately, they haven't had the desired effect, Chris, and what most households have been doing. But you didn't support the out years. The same ones that you are now trying to bring forward were tax cuts that you opposed. Well, no, I think we supported the second round of tax cuts, round 2. We've got some queries about round 3 because they're a big impost on the budget. But we did support the second round, and we're now saying that the government should look to bring those forward. And you know, how much of that they bring forward, what the cost would be, that's something that the government's going to have to do. But the government's approach on economic management at the moment, Chris, is she'll be right. We'll just wait and see how things pan out, despite the fact we've got severe international headwinds, that growth's down, unemployment's up, wages forecasts again in the doldrums, consumption's low, business investment is low. All of these bad economic indicators, the government doesn't have a plan.
I don't mean to cut you off, Matt Thistlethwaite, but I do want to just briefly, before we run out of time, get your reaction to this APRA investigation into Westpac that was revealed today.
Yeah, I think that's the right way to go. What we need to look at here, and what occurred in the wake of CBA being involved in AUSTRAC breaches, was that APRA looked at what was going on in CBA. And the important thing, Chris, is that they look at the culture of the organisation, right from the board down through senior management and lower management levels, and see whether or not these compliance issues that the organisation has are systemic and what they're doing, whether or not the board just looks at compliance around AUSTRAC and other legal requirements they have on a monthly basis as a tick and flick, or whether they're serious about them. And that's, I think, going to be the great insight into what's gone on in Westpac, so full credit to APRA for launching it.
Matt Thistlethwaite, thanks so much for being a regular on our program this year. I hope you and your family have a great Christmas and New Year.
Same to you, Chris. Look forward to talking to you in the new year.